Okay, so I'm going to go over what's going to be on your final exam, which you can see when I pull it up in my language lab, covers parts of chapter 7 and 8. Okay, so the first section is a listening section. It says, lo que hace Erika. Listen to Erika describe the things that she likes to do in her free time. Then read each of the following statements and decide whether it is cierto or falso. And if the information's not given, select no se menciona. So you'll play this little blip here.
Normalmente no tengo mucho tiempo libre, pero
Okay, so that'll be an entire description that Erica will give you of things she likes to do in her free time, and then you just read these statements and decide whether they're true, false, or not mentioned. And you can listen to it as many times as you want. Que tiempo hace? Here you're given the weather. I think it's going to be the same choices under each, so you can kind of do a process of elimination. Just go through and decide which of these phrases would describe that picture. Is it nieva, hace frío, hace calor, hace fresco, llueve, está nublado, hace sol, hace viento, and then you pick which one you want. And you might need to look at all of them before you make your final choice. ¿Qué es esto? Do you know the vocabulary that talks about pastimes? Using the descriptions provided, fill in the blanks with the correct vocabulary word. Don't forget to include the correct definite article. Es una prenda de ropa que se usa para nadar, and then you'll use the definite article and list what is that a definition of. And that comes from your vocabulary in either chapter 7 or chapter 8. I'm thinking it's chapter 7, and I'm checking on it really quickly for you guys. Let's see. Yeah. Whoops. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, that comes from chapter 7. Complete the following sentences about free time and the weather with a logical word from the word bank. So you've got periódico, nieva, fresco, partido frío, película, etc. You just read these statements and pick which word would best complete it. And again, I think this comes from chapter 7. Here, what things do you associate with the beach? So again, it's vocabulary. You write the word of the item that's pictured. Again, this is chapter 7. It's vocabulary. Make sure you include the definite article, which is the, like an el, la, los, or las. Okay, so carry it over to page 2. You're doing the same thing here. Still, chapter 7 is vocabulary. You include the article, like you say, the cooler, the ice, the bag, the towel. Down here, you're going to complete the sentences by choosing the appropriate verb. Here's where you're dealing with the preterite tense, and these are irregular preterite words or preterite verbs. Irregular verbs in the preterite tense, which is also in chapter 7. So you just pick which spelling. You're given basically 2 verbs to choose between and 2 different spellings of each of those verbs. So you pick which verb and which spelling would best complete the sentence. You're doing the same thing down here. However, now you have another set of irregular verbs, which I am checking. This is also chapter 7. So again, you're given 2 verbs, 2 different spellings of them. Pick the verb and the correct spelling that would best complete the sentence. Down here, you're going to complete the sentence by choosing the correct, you're doing the exact same thing again. However, this time you're dealing with the imperfect, which would be in chapter 8. So you're given, again, 2 verbs, 2 different spellings of those verbs, and you pick which verb and which spelling would best complete the sentence. However, this time you're in the imperfect. Here, the next section, you're actually going to make a choice between the preterite and the imperfect, which also comes from chapter 8. So you've got to decide. You're given, I think, 1 verb. It's conjugated 2 different ways in the preterite, 2 different ways in the imperfect. So you need to decide whether you want to use preterite or imperfect, and then pick the correct spelling within the tense that you decide to use. Okay, now we're back into vocabulary, and I'm pretty sure this is chapter 8. Let's see, béisbol, that's actually chapter 7 again. So this one's chapter 7, pick the vocabulary word that best completes the sentence from your word bank. Here, this again is chapter 7's vocabulary. Same thing again, you just read the sentences and pick the vocabulary word that would best complete the sentence. And now we're on our last page. I think that's the exact same activity we were looking at, just carried over to the back page. Now you have a reading passage, so you just read this paragraph and then you decide whether the statements below are true, false, or not mentioned. And that's your whole test, and it looks like you have 3 hours in which to complete it. Hopefully you won't need 3 hours, but just in case you do, you have it.